Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for Game Week 4 where I'm going to look at the popular players. The reason we care about the popular highly owned players is if there's a popular player that does well and you don't own them, that's going to hurt your rank. If there's a popular player you don't own and they do poorly, that's going to be good for your rank. And there are fewer popular players than unpopular players, or differentials as people call them. So it's easier to avoid popular players that are not going to do well than it is to choose the good differentials. And I hope that wasn't too difficult to follow. Anyway, I'm very tired at the moment, so I'm going to try and make this a short video. So hopefully that'll get a like just for trying to make it a short video. So I like to start by looking at who the popular players are. The purple players are strikers, and the most popular is João Pedro, 64.4% owned. He's quite cheap, only 7.7 million. If he does well and you don't own him, he's going to hurt your rank. And he has been doing quite well. So if you can get him in, he's worth having. The second most popular is Salah at 54%. But many managers will be captaining him. So his ownership's going to be probably around 100%, maybe even slightly higher. So Salah and João Pedro, if you don't own them and they do well, they're going to really hurt you. If Salah, for example, only gets 2 points and you don't own him, that's really good for you. Personally, I wouldn't be risking it, but that's up to you. Then other players that are just over 30%. Up front, we have Haaland and Ekitike, but Ekitike is probably going to be going down in popularity as Isak starts to get minutes over the next few game weeks. Then we have three midfielders at Semenyo 7.5, Kudos 6.6, and Rangers 5.7. And we're going to have to, as we gradually find out who the popular players are going to be, who the popular 11 are, because Haaland's creeping up and Salah's still there has to be some cheap players that are making it. And we've got no defenders or goalkeepers past the 30% mark, so they're not going to hurt you as much. The most popular defenders are Van de Ven, Cucurella, Virgil van Dijk. Most popular keeper who's going to play is Sanchez, closely followed by Raya. But this coming game week, Raya is expected to do better. And although Dubravka's the most highly owned, I've got him right down here. I've guessed about 2%, might not even be that high. As although most teams own Dubravka, he's going to be on the bench. Now, if we look at the 10 most popular goalkeepers, Raya and Sanchez are the two most popular, but Raya is expected to score more points over the coming game weeks, which is why I've got him as the most important goalkeeper. But at 5.5 million, half a million more than Sanchez, personally at the moment, I would rather have Sanchez. If I was wildcarding, I may go Raya. The reason for that is from game week 7, most managers are going to want to have probably 3 Arsenal players. And Raya is possibly the cheapest one to have at the back. And there are so many cheap defenders, certainly cheaper than the Arsenal ones. You can kind of cover yourself. The downside of Raya is he's often going to get 6 points when he gets a clean sheet. Maybe occasionally 7. Whereas Sanchez seems to have more chance of getting maybe 8 points with a clean sheet. And he saves a bit of money. So Raya is expected to get more points over the next several game weeks. But Sanchez still at the moment seems all right. Now, Becker should do quite well, 5.5 million, but going forward, when you want Liverpool players, you're probably going to want 3 outfield Liverpool players. Becker stops you doing that. So I would rather have Sanchez or Raya to Becker. If you've got Becker, don't go getting rid of him. If you're wildcarding or free hitting, personally, I wouldn't be getting Becker, not even on a free hit, even though they're home to Burnley. Pickford, 3 of the next 4 are home to Villa, home to West Ham, home to Palace. So very nice. There's a chance of getting 3 clean sheets there. Of course, he could let a goal in each, but he could be all right. And as far as just watching a goalkeeper, he is a lot of fun. So Sells, definitely wouldn't buy him. Absolutely wouldn't buy him. If you've got him and he's your keeper, fine, just keep him. Don't waste a transfer on him. Wait till you wildcard. But with Ange coming in now as the manager, and he likes to play a very high line, there's a reasonable chance it's going to be more difficult for Forest to keep clean sheets. However, when they do keep a clean sheet, he may well get decent defensive contributions now, may get some bonus points for all his saves. So he's not terrible to have, but I wouldn't expect many clean sheets. I think when Ange was Spurs manager in the Premier League, about 20% of the games were clean sheets, which isn't really an awful lot. But he did have a lot of injured defenders, to be fair. Vicario, he's all right, 5 million. He's got West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Leeds. Could be 4 clean sheets in the next several. But at 5 million, I'd rather have Sanchez. But if he's your keeper, fine, keep him. Henderson, if you're free hitting at home to Sunderland this game week at 5 million, I think he's a good shout. If I was free hitting, and I'm not, but if you've got enough spaces, you're not using 3 other Palace players, he's a perfectly good keeper to have. Kelleher, 4.5 million. That's the first 4.5 million on the page. So if that's all you've got, he's all right. As is Verbruggen. They're both much of a muchness there. And then Dubravka's a banker. If he's in your squad, great, he should be. If you're wildcarding, you really should get him. He's only 4 million and he's first choice. Regarding the defenders, so Virgil van Dijk, he's the one that's going to do the most damage if he does well, and he's expected to do well this game week away to Burnley. Then he's home to Everton, away to Palace. They're all okay fixtures. Away to Palace may not be great, but the other two, a chance of a clean sheet there. If he's in your team, that's fine, solid choice. Cucurella, nice and attacking. Fixtures aren't great the next 4, but they're okay. Absolutely wouldn't be moving him out. I probably wouldn't be getting him in purely because there are some nice cheap defenders and I'd probably rather spend the money elsewhere, but he is a very good player. So Pedro Porro, he was on a lot of set pieces, but now they've got Xavi Simons. It's expected that he's going to be taking at least half them off Pedro. So Pedro Porro's attacking potential has gone down a bit, so we can expect his popularity to wane and his price may go down unless he does really well against West Ham and Brighton and Wolves and Leeds, which is possible. But he's not quite as good as he was, so I probably wouldn't go buying him now. But if you've got him, I think it's absolutely fine to have him. So Gabriel, if you've got him, that's fine. Personally, wouldn't be buying him. Forest, but he's against Ange, who there's always a chance he's going to be able to start attacking from the first game. And then he's got Man City, then he's got Newcastle. So from game week 7, he may be good. Don't bring him in, but if you've got him, that's fine. Van de Ven, nice and cheap. Fixtures are good. Probably won't get as many points as Pedro Porro, but he's $1 million cheaper. If you've got him, that's fine. I wouldn't be bringing him in, though. Gahey's good. Worth bringing in. If he's on a free hit, definitely worth bringing in. Sunderland at home. Then West Ham, then Liverpool and Everton. He's all right. 4.6 million. I'd rather have him than Van de Ven. But the issue is Van de Ven is higher owned. So if they both do well, Van de Ven does you more damage. But Gay's, I think, has got more chance of doing well. Nori's 6 million. He can be good. He's, again, like I keep saying, there are good cheap defenders out there. But he's all right. And sometimes he should get a double-digit score. Munoz, all the defenders on this page, I think he's the one expected to do the best this game week. So he's got an XP of 5.1 compared to, what's the next best one? Virgil van Dijk at 4.8. Home to Sunderland, and he's attacking, but he's not massively highly owned. If he was higher owned, you'd kind of have to own him. If you're free hitting, get him in. If you're wildcarding, get him in. If you've got a defender issue you want to sort out, if you can afford Munoz, you should probably get him. So Wan-Bissaka and Konza, absolutely don't buy them. Personally, I would be tempted to move them on. So if you didn't have much money, but you had one of those and you could get to Gay from Palace, I'd be tempted to do that if you had nothing else you had to do. Second page of defenders, we have Calafiore. If you've got him, that's great. I wouldn't go bringing him in. If you're wildcarding this game week, you could get him as an investment, just about. But you may decide you'd rather have other defenders, maybe a bit cheaper, and then bring him in game week 7. There's quite a few other defenders between now and game week 7 who will probably outscore him by 4 points. So you can afford to get somebody else. Tarkowski's very nice, 5.5. 3 of the next 4 fixtures are very nice. He gets a lot of defensive contribution points. So he'll often be getting 3 or 4 points. Unless he gets a clean sheet, then he could be up at 8 or 9. So very nice defender. Of course, sometimes you get 1. But generally, he's pretty good to have. So Forest defenders, Don't go bringing them in this game week. They're away to Arsenal. They then have Burnley and Sunderland. But there is a certain feeling that with Ange now in charge of Forest, they may play a much higher line, so they're going to concede more goals. But we don't know for sure. We know that Ange can play well. If you look at what he did in Europe, he was playing defensively well. So don't buy them. If you've got them at the moment, don't worry about them, or I wouldn't. Aina is the only one that he was injured. He may play this game week. We don't know at the moment. So if you wanted to sell Aina and buy someone else, that's fine. If you've got the other ones, you can either bench them or just play them. So I've currently got 2 Forest defenders, and I'm currently thinking I'm going to play them, even though they're only going to get maybe 1, 2 or 3 points. Because even if I sold them for maybe a good Palace defender, I don't know that that Palace defender is going to outscore them by 4 this game week. And the next 2 games are Burnley and Sunderland. Dorgu's not been playing well, so he was left out the last game week. He was on the bench. Absolutely don't go buying him. If you've got him, well, he's away to Man City this game week. Then he's got Chelsea. So if you've got Dorgu, I'd be very tempted to sell him for someone else or just leave him right on your bench. Goodmanson for Leeds, 4 million. I've got him down as bench fodder, but if you ever have to play him, that's absolutely fine. Saliba is injured and expected to be out for a few game weeks. He may be back by game week 7, but if you've got him, worth selling, even if it's for a -4. Midfielders, no surprise, Salah's the most dangerous. Next 3 fixtures are Burnley, Everton, Palace. If he does well and you don't own him, that's going to massively hurt your rank. Now, it is fair to say that this season so far, and the last few months of last season, he wasn't great. So if you decide to go without him, you may do all right, and you then got money to spend elsewhere. It's just the risk factor. And if you're playing this game safe, it's safe to have Salah. That's the sensible thing to do. Semenyo's a good player, growing in popularity, expected to do well this game week and the coming game weeks. He gets lots of minutes. Very good player. Kudos, popular. He's all right. If you've got him, absolutely keep him. If I was wildcarding, I probably wouldn't bring him in. Rangers, if I was wildcarding, I would be tempted to bring him in. At the moment, he seems to be getting more or less 90 minutes. So if you've got him, that's great. If you've not got him, wouldn't take a hit at the moment to bring him in, but he's all right. Wirtz, we've only had 3 games, so though he's blanked 3 times, that doesn't mean he's a bad player. If you've got Wirtz, it's fine to keep him. If you want to sell him to release some cash, or because you think someone else has got a better run of fixtures, that's okay. I think if I had Wirtz and I didn't need the money personally, I'd probably keep him. I don't have him, but if I did. Fernandes is a good player. I think he's all right. I think he's a good player at 9 million. If you've got 9 million, that's fine. If you've got him, personally, I'd absolutely keep him. If you didn't have him, I'd say you probably wouldn't buy him. But he's a good player. Gakpo's good, but the issue we've got is with Isak coming into Liverpool, we don't know yet whose minutes are going to be affected, whether it be Gakpo, whether it be Ekitike, because we don't know who's going to be playing, presumably on the left wing with Isak at the front. If you've got Gakpo, that's great. Playing this week. If you're on a free hit, absolutely fine to get. Apart from that, I wouldn't be bringing him in because you may have to sell him in a couple of weeks if his minutes go down. So Palmer is apparently in training. Absolutely don't go buying him, but if you've got him and you want to risk keeping him because he may be okay, that's all right. But the situation we're in now is he's not massively highly owned. So if he does well, he's not going to hurt your rank too much. 10.4 million. At the moment, I'd rather be owning probably anyone else on this page to Palmer. Second page in midfielders, Embremo, good player. Wouldn't go bringing him in. He's away to Man City. But if you're wild carding and you particularly want him, that's okay. If you've already got him, personally, I wouldn't be selling him. He's a solid pick. Grealish, loads of people have brought him in at the moment. Next 3 of the next 4 are Villa, West Ham, Palace at home. Could easily get 3 or 4 assists across those games. So might be a difficult price point, 6.7 million, but he is a good player. Now they do play Man City in a few game weeks time and you can't play that game, but that's okay because hopefully you've got someone on your bench who'll be all right. So if you want Grealish, that's fine, but for all you know, the next 3 weeks he could just get 2 points, but he's all right. Enzo's a nice solid player. won't get massive scores. People are bringing him in, but he scored from a penalty, but Palmer wasn't on the pitch, and maybe next time João Pedro get the penalty. We don't know for sure that he's the second choice penalty taker, but he is good at penalties. So if you've got him, that's great. If you wanted him on a free hit, that's okay. I would only buy him on a wild card if my money was such that was all I could afford, but he's all right. I wouldn't go buying him at the moment because he's not had the minutes much yet, but from game week 7, he could be very, very good. I do like Rice. If I had him, I'd be comfortable with that. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't be bringing him in. So Johnson, I've got him in my team. He went off at half time, I think, just because he was so disappointing. He's not expected to do particularly well. He's not massively highly owned. You don't need to fear him. If you've got him and you want to move him on, for example, for Semenyo, if you can afford him, that's all right. If you want to play him, that's kind of right as well. There's no circumstance at the moment where I'd be buying him, though. So Anderson, 5.5 million, away to Arsenal, so won't get the clean sheet point probably, but he get 2 points for playing, 2 points for defensive contribution, so a reasonable chance of getting 4 points this game week. For 5.5, he's a pretty okay choice, I think, so I think he's all right. Dewsbury Hall at 5 million, 12 points last game week, 3 of the next 4 are very nice fixtures. I think he's a nice pick. If I was wildcarding, I'd be right to have him. If I was free hitting, probably wouldn't. There's probably someone else I'd rather have. If you've got him, that's great. Obviously, keep him. Regarding the forwards, João Pedro is the most dangerous at the moment, although he's not expected to be the highest scorer. But he's so highly owned, he's going to hurt you if he does well and you don't own him. But he's just come back from Brazil from international duty. He won't get 90 minutes almost certainly, but he's almost certainly going to get a decent amount of minutes. So he could still score this game week. And generally going forward, he could return in any game. So Haaland, he got 5 goals and 2 assists in his last game for Norway in the middle of the week. I personally think he could outscore Salah this game week. Home to Man United, I think that's a good game. And then game week 6 is at home to Burnley. Loads of managers are going to want him. If you can afford to get Haaland, or you're wildcarding, or even free hitting with him, he's an excellent choice. I think his ownership's only going to keep increasing, so the time may come where you're going to have him. But you could sell Salah if you had to get him. So Goalkeepers, we're expecting him to be good. Forest this week could do all right. Next 2 not so good. But then from game week 7, assuming there are no surprises and he becomes rubbish, he's probably going to be very highly owned. But at the moment, you don't need to fear him too much. Ekitike, he's fine on a free hit. If I was wildcarding, I wouldn't be getting him. If I had him, that would be fine at the moment. But apart from a free hit or already have him, would not bring him in, even though he's a good player and he might do well, until we know what's happening. Now, Chris Wood, he's just come back, presumably today from New Zealand, but he's not injured. And you could say he's done all this travelling, international duty, he's going to be knackered. The other side of the coin is he's just had a nice holiday, seen some mates, and now he's coming back, so he could come back refreshed. So away to Arsenal, not expected to get anything much there, but then he's got Burnley and Sunderland, and with Ange in charge, he's got a reasonable chance of getting the ball a lot and just scoring. So if you've got him, that's fine. Absolutely wouldn't bring him in this game week, though. So Villa have done nothing yet. However, I'm still going to say Watkins is a good player. Everton, Sunderland, Fulham, Burnley, he could get decent points across those 4 game weeks. There's no scenario where I'd bring him in, but if you've got him, he's absolutely fine to have. Mateta, he's getting a bit popular and he's expected to do well. Home to Sunderland, then he's got West Ham, and then in game week 7, he's away to Everton. So he's a perfectly good choice and he should do well. Richarlison, there's no scenario I think where I'd buy him, but if I had him, that'd be okay. Away to West Ham, could do all right there. Then Isak, the only reason to buy him at the moment is if you're wild carding and it's an investment for the future because you're saving a transfer. But even then, personally, I don't think I'd buy him. I would just book in a transfer for a couple of game weeks times. But once he starts playing, assume he stays fit, he's probably going to be very popular. He's going to be well past 50% owned. So we'll need him in the future probably, but we don't need him now. And then a couple of bench fodder forwards. We have Foster for Burnley. He's getting decent minutes. He's 5 million. So he'd normally sit on your bench. But if he has to come on because somebody's injured, at least to get you 2 points. And then Mark Gay, who was at Sunderland, but he's been recalled to Chelsea. Absolutely, I would not go buying him, even though he's only 4.4, because he takes up a Chelsea spot. And there are several other 4.4 forwards that you could get. They're not going to play, but he's 0.6 cheaper than Foster. Obviously, don't take a hit to get rid of him unless you have to, but there's no scenario now where I'd buy Mark Gay. We're now going to look at the bench order, starting with keepers, and the order I show you is my preferred order for playing them. So that would be Raya, Becker, Sanchez, Henderson, Vicario, Pickford, Kelleher, Verbruggen, Sales, Dubravka. And for the remaining players, apart from the captaincy choices, my preferred order would be Ekiteke, Gakpo, Wirtz, Virgil van Dijk, Munoz, Fernandes, Mbeumo, Watkins, Palmer, Gabriel, Reinders, Cucurella, Gay, Kudos, Pedro Porro, Enzo, Rice, Aït-Nouri, Tarkowski, Eze, Richarlison, Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, Calafiori, Anderson, Johnson, Van der Ven. And then we have Isak, who's almost certainly not going to start. He may come on for 10-15 points and he may get an assist or a goal. If I was spending 10.5 million or whatever it is to buy Isak now, I'd at least have the fun of thinking he may come on. He's a long way down the list, but I'd have him. So if I had him and Wood, I really would be tempted to play Isak before Chris Wood. Then it'd be Konza, Morello, Williams, Wan-Bissaka, Goodmanson, Foster, Electric Steve, Dorgu, Aina, who's possibly injured, Mark Gahey, Saliba, who he thinks injured. Regarding captaincy, I think Salah is the safest choice for captain. He's going to be the most captained this game week, almost certainly. No, he will be. He'll be the most highly captained, so he's the safest choice. He's expected to get a good score. Personally, I think Haaland is going to score more points, and he's also a good captaincy choice. I have both of these, and I'm going for Salah because I'm going for safety. But if I knew nothing about ownership levels, I'd be going for Haaland. And then Goalkeepers is also a good choice, as is João Pedro, although he might not get great minutes, but he's still very attacking. Mateta's good, Semenyo's good. Any of these are fine for captain, and you're fine for vice captain. And I've tried to make that a short video, and I've failed yet again. So sorry about that. And if you got this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good game week 4. Personally, I'm expecting a red arrow because I've got 3 Forest players, but who knows, I could get lucky. Thanks, bye.